opening words today are from Monica Jacobson Tennyson. What is it that calls you here? That calls you onward? That calls you inward? That leads you homeward? What is it that gives you power to make that change, to ask that question, to take that journey? What is it that says you have done well, then asks that you learn more, that brings you to stillness, that holds you up in hard times? It's relationship, the beating heart of our faith. It begins when we share this hour, our truths, this air, our hearts. Come, let us worship together. Good morning and welcome, everyone. Good morning. Everybody's all juiced up because it's so chilly outside, so you got to get those that freezing kind of chills going to warm you up. My name is Donna Zimmerman, and I will be your worship leader this morning. My pronouns are she and her. If you are new to this church or our faith, you will find that Unitarian Universalists travel many different paths to discover purpose and meaning in our lives. However, we unite in our belief in the worth and dignity of everyone. We believe it is our obligation to express our faith through acts of compassion, love, courage, and justice. We practice a life-affirming faith. Our faith is seen through our deeds, not what we say we believe. I want to take this opportunity to welcome any first-time or returning visitor. We are happy that you are here today. We're so glad to have you here and hope you'll feel welcome and want to get to know us. Be sure to stop by our welcome table at the entryway to the church if you haven't already done so, and pick up some information about our church and our denomination. If you haven't already signed in the guest book, please do so and get a name tag so that we can recognize that you are a visitor and get to know you by name. We offer regular Learn About Us classes if you are interested in finding out more about our church or our denomination. And if you're at the point of wanting to join our church, our membership chair, Julie Smithers, will be happy to talk to you about the path to membership. For any questions, look for someone who has a sticker on their name tag that says, "New, ask me." Now, if you've been here a little while and are ready to jump into some really simple volunteer tasks, we have opportunities to help out with refreshments in the kitchen. If you are interested, there's a volunteer sheet in the back of the church on a table, and you can sign your name there. And like I say, that's a really simple volunteer task that will be sure to endear you to people, especially the children, as you pass out goodies. Speaking of refreshments, we would like to invite everyone to join us after the service at the back of the sanctuary for fair trade coffee, goodies, and some conversation. We have all come to our church from many different paths, just about every faith tradition and no faith. Our search for meaning is embodied in our Unitarian Universalist Association principles that are listed on the back of your order of service. That's where our commonality is. Together, we support each other in our individual journeys. Now, if you will please ensure that your electronic devices are silenced, we will enter into our sacred time together. Please remain seated and join me in reciting our Congregational covenant, which is printed on the inside of your order of service. We covenant to engage one another with honesty, kindness, and respect, to value diversity, seek understanding of our differences, and practice gracious accountability with care, love, and empathy. We make these promises to those who are here and those yet to come, so this may be a safe, welcoming, and beloved community of acceptance, learning, and transformation. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our call to worship, and the words are printed in your order of service. We light our chalice each Sunday morning as a symbol of our faith, and I invite Jim Wood to please come forward and light the chalice as I read the words of Reverend Scott Taylor. May the light we now kindle and the time we now share anchor us to that inner flame, that sacred center, which helps us to remember who we were before the world told us who it wanted us to be. May our time together clear the way for those memories and voices and friends that lead us back home. Thank you, Sydney. She is doing double duty today. She is both our accompanist and providing special music. Isn't it wonderful to be full of a church full of talented people? Jen Jones is on a planned PTO day today, and volunteer in religious education, Ms. Marilyn Smart, will now come forward. Time for all ages. Marilyn?
Hello. All right, there I am. Whee! I would like to have Verna volunteer. See how I did that? Not volunteer Verna, but Verna. Come on up with the Wonder Box. So what do you think is in the Wonder Box? Board games. Small board games. What kind of board game? What's your favorite board game? Monopoly. How many of you have played Monopoly? Oh, see, they're all friends. They know your heartache there. Okay, why don't you open it? It's a spoon. What do you think you can do with a spoon? Eat with a spoon, yeah. Anything else? Cook. Cook with a spoon. Make a big hole in the dirt. Yes. How many of you have done that? Okay, well, our story is pretty much an old game, and it has to do with balance. Sorry, guys. And how many of you have tried to do what I'm going to ask Verna to do, which is balance? Not that hard yet. Balance it on your finger. Can you do that? Oh, look at that. Look at that. Okay, so the other one is balance it on your nose. Now, how do you do that? How do you do that? You put the spoon on. Oh, you're getting hints. You want to try it? That's something I have never been able to do. How many of you can balance on? Okay. Fine. Fine. So, our theme this month is finding our center. So, I know many of us at this time are particularly going in 9 different directions at once, and it's very hard to say, calm down so that I can think carefully and I can get to know myself again, maybe find my confidence. If you're thinking deep philosophical thoughts and someone goes like that, I even stepped on your toe. We planned that, but not the stepping on the toe. See, she was thinking deep philosophical thoughts, and, it's completely lost when you're off balance. Okay. So I think that's the end of the story today. I know we've all enjoyed it. Can you put this spoon back in, please? And our next job is to find the chalice. And now I am passing on the religious chalice and the religious information that we get through religious education from one generation to the next. Go now in peace. All right, good job. Good job, thank you.
Every week in our church, we take up an offering. This is both symbolic as well as practical. It's symbolic because it reminds us that our communal giving represents how we live out our values. And it is practical because it is through our pledges we build our budget and fund our programs and ministries, pay the church staff, and finance the comfort and beauty of our building and grounds. Although many choose to submit their pledge funds electronically to the church at any convenient time, we continue to pass the plate during our worship service to make an expression of our church community. This act of giving is as essential to our spiritual well-being as anything else we do here on Sunday mornings. During this time-honored ritual, even if your offering is simply symbolic, please take the plate and pass it to your neighbor or the row behind you. Now, Cindy Jorgensen and Ted Clisby will come forward to assist with the offering. Elizabeth DeCoux is a member of our pastoral care team. She's our animal care chaplain. She's a beloved member of this church, and I am very privileged and proud to invite her to the pulpit today. Elizabeth?
I hope the technology gods are in a good mood this morning because I've got a lot of technology going on. Good morning. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. I thought that as we enter the new year, it would be good to be prepared in case anyone asks us how many Unitarian Universalists it takes to change a light bulb. It takes an indeterminate number. And next Sunday, we have scheduled a service in which we'll explore a number of light bulb traditions, including incandescent, fluorescent, and LED, all of which are valid paths to luminescence. I realize, of course, that it's actually good that we honor a variety of traditions. To begin with, an acknowledgement. The name of this sermon comes from the title of C.S. Lewis's book, Surprised by Joy. That is the most accurate description I could think of for my experience of exploring the draft of proposed changes to our 7 principles. I want to share more about the draft in a few minutes, but first I offer a very familiar parable to illustrate the value at the heart of the draft. That value is love. This well-known parable comes from the tradition of Christianity, but its message is universal. Jesus taught throughout his ministry that we should love our neighbor as ourselves. One day, a rich young ruler in the crowd wanted to justify limiting his love only to certain people. So he asked Jesus, "Who is my neighbor?" Jesus knew his audience held a historic prejudice against Samaritans. So he answered the question with this story. A certain man was walking from Jerusalem to Jericho. He fell among thieves who stripped him of his clothes and beat him, leaving him half dead. A priest came by and saw the man, but he crossed to the other side of the road and did not stop. Then a religious leader came along and saw the man, but he also crossed to the other side of the road and did not stop. Then a certain Samaritan came along and had compassion on the man. He went to him and bound up his wounds, pouring in oil and wine. He put the man on his own camel and took him to an inn and cared for him. The next day, he gave the innkeeper money to continue caring for the man and promised that whatever additional the innkeeper spent, he would repay when he returned from his trip. Then Jesus asked the rich young ruler, "Which of these 3 was a neighbor to the man who fell among thieves?" In telling this story, Jesus was teaching that the person we thought we despised because they are different from us in race, nationality, sexual orientation, belief, the person we thought we despised because they're different is actually the neighbor we are commanded to love as ourselves. I begin with that story because love is the essence of the draft I'm going to discuss this morning, and because remembering our love for each other will help us as we walk through this process of review and possible revision. So exactly what is this draft and what's going on in our Unitarian Universalist Association regarding the 7 principles? My sermon is about the proposed changes to our 7 principles. That's my only topic. The 7 principles are familiar, of course. We see them in our order of service and in our hymnal. A version of them appears on the walls of our classrooms. That is where we encounter them in our day-to-day lives, but their official place is in the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association. So why would we revise our 7 principles? Well, our UUA bylaws actually require that we review our principles and sources every 15 years to determine if revisions are appropriate. Review and possible revision are the rule, not the exception. This practice is in keeping with the tenet of our faith that revelation is not closed. The entity responsible for conducting this current review is called the Article 2 Study Commission because our 7 principles are found in Article 2 of our UUA bylaws. The Article 2 Study Commission has been engaged in an ongoing process of drafting, seeking feedback, and revising. They obtained feedback at General Assembly and in online meetings. They published an invitation in our association's magazine, UU World, for all of us to participate in their process, including an online feedback form and an email group. Near the end of October, the Article 2 Study Commission published a complete draft. The section that corresponds to the current 7 principles is entitled Values and Covenant. Some, but not all, of the concepts in our 7 principles are reflected in this section on values and covenant from the October draft. One phrase from the 7 principles that does not appear in the October draft is democratic process. That concerned me until I found that our democratic process is specifically protected in the rules of the Unitarian Universalist Association and in a 2022 General Assembly resolution governing the amendment of bylaws. And of course, this is a draft, still subject to change. And the final version will be adopted only if there is a simple majority vote at our 2023 General Assembly, and then a 2/3 supermajority vote at our 2024 General Assembly. In addition to these protections of the democratic process, our freedom of belief is honored in the draft with this language: nothing herein shall be deemed to infringe upon the individual freedom of belief, which is inherent in the Unitarian Universalist heritages, or to conflict with any statement of purpose, covenant, or bond of union used by any congregation, unless such is used as a creedal test. We UUs do not like creedal tests. In expressing our beliefs, we do so in the spirit of love in ways that further beloved community. That language is worth noting. It says that nothing in this draft can be deemed to infringe on our BBUUC covenant, in which we agree to practice gracious accountability with care, love, and empathy. To explain the title of this sermon, Surprised by Joy, I was surprised when I read the October draft because I was expecting to see our 7 principles, maybe with a few words changed, and an 8th principle added on at the end to address anti-racism work. I think that's what we were all expecting, and that's not what we have. I was surprised by joy because this draft is centered on love for each other and for the sacred web of all existence. The draft, with its focus on love, resolved, for me, concerns I had heard, sometimes from people I love and respect, about this revision process. The key to understanding the draft can be found in a single sentence in the section on purpose. We will transform the world by our liberating love. Now, we hear the word love all the time, but what does it mean? To me, the simplest definition is this: love is that which seeks the highest good for another. The love at the center of this draft is not some naive sentimentality. It is a love that supports the other values in this draft, including justice and generosity. The love at the center of this draft is love in action, the kind of love that stops on the road to Jericho and binds up another traveler's wounds. The Article 2 Study Commission grounded this draft in love because they believe that the best hope for this world of oppression and loneliness and despair, the best hope of healing both the hated and the haters, is your liberating love. As we see in this image from the draft, love is the center of our proposed values, and those values are all grounded in love, and they form an inseparable whole. The values are love, justice, generosity, pluralism, evolution, equity, and interdependence. And within the draft, each of these 7 proposed values has additional language to flesh out its meaning. These values are not numbered because they are not 7 unrelated ideas. They are a unified whole centered in love. Love is the enduring force that holds us together. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all people thrive. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. Evolution. We adapt to the changing world. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, theology, and experience. Equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with dignity and worthiness. Interdependence. We honor the sacred interdependent web of all existence. With humility, we understand our place in the web. If you've seen the draft, you know that the section on values and covenant is longer than this slide. The words that are in the draft but not on this slide are actually a covenant. Among other things, there's a covenant to accountably dismantle racism and all forms of oppression within individuals and our institutions, and a covenant to care for and respect the earth and all beings by fostering relationships of mutuality. The covenant is the power of this draft because, as one ancient epistle tells us, faith without works is dead. Why do I think this draft holds such bright promise? Because it can free us from any lingering temptation to that painful preoccupation with self. It can open the door instead to a beloved community that encompasses the sacred web of all existence. In preparing for this sermon, I noticed something about our 7 principles for the first time, and it strikes me as odd. I wonder if you've ever noticed it. Our 7 principles do not mention love at all. Just before our merger in 1961, both Universalists and Unitarians held love as one of their highest values, enshrined in the official documents of both denominations. And in our founding UU document, created during that merger, we affirm that we cherish love as a universal truth. The more I've thought about it, the more I wonder how we came to the situation we have today, where our 7 principles don't even mention love. Unitarian Universalism was founded as a faith that cherished love. I have experienced love in this church, and I imagine you have too. This congregation acts with love so naturally. I think of Socktober and Pennies from Heaven, donations to Jasmine and Infan, the work of I Care, the Side with Love campaign, the way we light candles every Sunday for each other's joys and concerns, the prominence of love in our congregational covenant. I think of a friend with a different opinion who still sent me information I needed about this draft. I think of the work of our caring committee and our pastoral care team and our chaplain. Please bear with me if I've inadvertently omitted any examples. People in this congregation genuinely love each other. That's why it strikes me as strange that our 7 principles don't mention love. The symbols that surround our window, as shown on this slide, represent different traditions that we honor, and each one places a high value on love. The command at the heart of the Torah to love our neighbor as ourselves, the elaboration of that rule by Jesus in the parable we just read when he taught that the Samaritan we thought we despised for being different is actually the neighbor we are commanded to love as ourselves. The highest Hindu value, ahimsa, defined as love, care, and compassion towards all living beings. These words from the Quran, you will not enter paradise until you believe, and you will not believe until you love one another. The humanist teaching that love is a force more powerful than our deterministic cosmos. The chief instruction of the Buddha to radiate boundless love toward the entire world. So these traditions which we honor have love as their byword. By adopting this draft, we can tell the world that love is our highest value too. We can recognize the truth expressed by the Apostle Paul when he wrote, "And now abide these three, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love." This draft is calling us back to the roots of our Unitarian Universalist faith and back to the foundation of the traditions we honor. Just as the Samaritan transformed the life of the man who fell among thieves, this draft invites us to transform the world by our liberating love. What a quest that would be. Personally, I believe in my heart that someday that transformation will happen. And even if it never does, even if humans persist in their hate, even if they destroy the earth and every living creature before that transformation is complete, just to try will have made our lives noble. We can transform the world by coming home to the roots of our Unitarian Universalist faith and to the foundation of all these traditions we honor, the concept that is oddly missing from our 7 principles. We can transform the world by coming home to love, beginning with our love for each other in this congregation right here this morning. May we come home to love. Blessed be and amen. Thank you.
Embrace the breadth of your own existence without apology, even if they try to take it away from you. You must know not that you can do whatever you want. You are not a kudzu vine eating entire hillsides for the purpose of feeding your own lush life. You must know instead that inside you, you are entire universes that are expanding, milky blue, magenta, and gold. But to actually be free, you must know that you must fight for the entire universes inside of everyone else. Being free is not a license, but a promise to be fulfilled. May it be so. Our worship has ended. Now let our service begin.